Good morning, everybody. My name is Jody. My husband David John and I have a small farm in the panhandle of North Idaho. These are our stories and adventures, so welcome to Moose Flats Farm. And today we're going to do a September walk around the garden. We live in Zone 6B, which is a pretty cool zone to live in, except I have a really weird microclimate where we live, because we are right on top of an aquifer. So this morning I got up and it was 37 degrees. That's a little chilly. So what the aquifer does is when the weather starts to change and cool down, is it pulls the cold down more on top of us than areas that are not on the aquifer. A really good example is a gentleman about 1.5 miles down the road from us. In the spring, he can start his garden about 2 weeks before we can. And in the fall, his garden extends out 2 to 3 weeks longer than ours, because we will get a frost way before he does, just because of the weirdness of the aquifer. So it's like right now it's 50 and they're saying the real temperature is like almost 60. So definitely shows you wherever their thermometer is and where ours is, gives us that weird little microclimate. And as you see, it's kind of hazy out. It is fire season, unfortunately, and the air is kind of smoky, which doesn't help with keeping things warm. So let's go around and see what we look like in the middle of September. Give you an example of how smoky it is. That's the sun. But these flower boxes are looking really lovely. And I love the sparkler petunia. It just looks so cool. This one's nice and full. The little dwarf Alberta. And I did the other day when I was at North 40, I got this millet plant for the wild birds. Plus it looked really cool, and I'm hoping to save seeds from it so I can grow my own next year. The flower bed out front of the house. I do have a delphinium that hopefully is going to bloom before the frost. That just needs to get trimmed back. And these two petunia baskets are still doing okay. They're struggling a little. It's like that herb pot is struggling a little. But the petunia under here looks really cool. Gonna have to remember that for next year. The little pineapple, it's got a whole bunch of growth on it and a couple weeds. The Mexican fan palm. And up on the deck, the little Christmas cactuses and all the palms. So one of the mini projects that I need to work on is getting like my angel wing begonias and the Christmas cactuses and the pineapple and the fan palm into the house, and getting the seed shed reset up to have the palms go out in it, because 37 in the morning is a little cool for them to be out. The Buddha garden. And the cool thing with the knotweed, it's all in bloom now. And then I have to figure out how I'm going to save those floating plants for this winter. Because I think they would freeze out. I'm not 100% sure, but definitely they're doing their job, so I don't want to lose them. But doesn't that knotweed look cool? But the grass seed that I planted over here is coming up nice and good. Let's go take a quick look at the orchard and work our way back to the garden itself. So here's that bed that I planted with the columbine and the irises. And there's Maverick. Oh, one of my horses fell over. Got a few champagne grapes on there. As you can see, a couple chickens got out and have been nibbling on them. But all the fruit trees look really good. I think this one actually is the one that did the best, and that's my Alberta peach. It did the best. But this champagne grape, the birds haven't found it. These ones might be a little riper. Little champagne grape. Yeah, those are sweet. But my hydrangea, it got some blooms coming on it and looks really pretty. The wagon looks, or the wheelbarrow looks really good, except for chicken damage. The pepper tower, the marigolds are just now starting to flower. Looks really pretty. Flower pot here. And along with the house plants, I'm going to have to take the peppers into the seed shed just because it's getting too cold for them out here. But my Mad Hatter pepper is loaded. And my Anaheims, getting some big ones on there. in this flower pot. Because these are my orange spice. And they haven't started changing colors yet. So out here in the garden, we'll start with the forsythia bed that we have plans for. Some of them, going to be taking them up to 3 of them up to my mom and dad's to fix a little spot in one of their flower beds that they needed a shrub, and I've got them, so might as well share. But they look really good, completely covered with new growth this year. The volunteer cosmos. The kind of wild Sweet 100. It looks really cool. And then we come over to where the brassicas are. And as you can see, it looks a little dug up. Because the other day I came home from work and there had been a chicken in here. And I'm sure she was just going after the slugs and stuff, but she did eat some of the stuff. So fingers crossed what's left is going to be good. But this little cucumber, I don't know if it's gonna, it's got some little ones on it, so I might get some from it. But on these dry beans, I think I'm just gonna go through and pull anything that's dry off them and just pull the plants out. Same with the ones in that bed. Just to start getting ready for fall. But I'm hoping the big climbing ones here will get a chance to dry out for me. Like some more just sickly looking guys. So it seemed pretty hit and miss on what did good and what suffered. And it seems like the vining ones did a lot better than the bush varieties. So we'll just see. On the other side of those beans, and then my echinaceas have some blooms on them. Hopefully they'll flower out before frost. But the creeping, blue star, yeah. It's gonna look really cool because it's just matting out. That little rose. And then some more of the dry beans. It's like you can see here. The chicken went through and ate the tops off them. But they're not dying back, so maybe. These are just little black oil sunflowers that the cats have knocked over, but they wanted to bloom. More dry beans. And those pansies didn't ever go leggy in the heat. They just stayed nice and pretty. But all the mini roses are just covered with new growth and blossoms. I'm not sure on if the clematises are going to come back or not, because they really never put any more new growth on. But over here, this cauliflower looks really good. The chicken didn't find it. The zinnias and cosmos in here, the hummingbirds have really been buzzing the flowers, and hopefully the cosmos will bloom in time. The personal melons, it's like I've got one in there. I think I'm gonna get a handful of fruit off of them. Not sure, but I've just been checking them every day, and so far nothing's been wanting to fall off the vine easily, so I'm assuming they're not ripe yet. But in this rose bed, the little white and yellow shrub rose has got a whole bunch of new growth. The little mini roses are kind of starting to take off. The red shrub rose, it's got a bunch of growth. Been picking a bunch of cucumbers off of this guy. Finally had a cucumber plant go. But my climbing rose back here has got a bunch of new canes. That I'm going to have to get tied to the trellis. But the cabbages out here, the ones that are left, are doing pretty good. And you got sunflowers. And I haven't picked the apples yet because these are the winter. Even though they're the 5-way, the apples themselves are winter apples. So I usually leave them on the tree until the first good frost, because that just concentrates the sugars in them. So we'll be here shortly, unfortunately, picking bunches of apples. And my two raspberry canes making their own arch. The weeping pussy willow, I did wind up going through and re-pruning it. And then it's like I've got it elevated about 8 inches, and it had runners that were touching the ground and coming out about 2 feet. So just kind of pruned it back so I can mow. But my flower boxes are just getting tired. Strawberry bed looks phenomenal. I have to go and remove some of the suckers. And this walkway is just a mess. But this little cucumber is the, I think, English no spiny style. It's producing a little bit. That beefsteak tomato's struggling. And I did the other day go through and was able to pick 5 gallons of green beans and get them canned. So definitely enough green beans for us for the winter. So that's one of the things I can go through and just start cleaning out before winter or fall gets here and I have a But my shade bed, the daylilies are done. The hostas and ferns. Leaning sunflowers. But they still look really pretty. And the wild birds are enjoying having them. But my two big pumpkins are just about ready to be picked. Got a Hubbard in there. And spaghetti squashes. Ooh, I forgot I planted a cucumber here. But tomatoes are coming on, have to come back out and pick some more. And as you see, the squash for some, or these, whatever, vining, the delicatesses spaghetti squash, they've got a little bit of powdery mildew on them. So definitely could go through and totally clear this bed out and see what treasures we have in there. And there's a nice size delicatessen squash hanging on the tomato wall. Got another winter squash over there. But the purple hyacinth bean that I've got in the 3 pots here in the walkway, which I'm not going to have pots in the walkway next year. They are growing amazingly, but have absolutely no flowers, so kind of a waste of space and kind of makes it hard getting in here. And this is the other side of the jungle. It's where the summer squash and zucchinis are, and some bush acorns and some butternut squash. And then the corn bed that's kind of falling down. And more sunflowers. I did get one of the mammoth ones to go. But the little mini roses right here, just looking so pretty. My white one here, just covered in new growth. The green beans. The yellow pear tomatoes. Apple tree nice and full. And those flowering baskets just succumb to the stress of the heat. This poor apple tree. The asparagus is doing good. It even sent up a second flush of baby asparagus. So next year we should be able to pick a little off it. But in the hoop house, the peppers are just doing phenomenal. Came out the other day and picked a bucket full. I know, I still need to do the peas. Need to come out and pick a bunch of the cayenne long that are ripe and banana peppers. Got my orange spice. It's loaded, just hasn't changed colors. Nothing on the Jay's peach yet. But lots of Anaheims in here. The black Hungarian. And I don't know if my onions that I started from seed are going to bulb up enough to be worthwhile. But we will see. And the other day I met a gentleman down at North 40. He actually has a good size garden, kind of does it not commercially, but he sells at a roadside stand. And I was able to get some garlic from him, a different variety than we have. He had red and white hardnecks. So, got some more garlic out here drying. And I think most of that I'm just going to save for planting in the garden, just so I can have more garlic next year. Let's go check out the greenhouse. The little flower bed in front of the greenhouse. Missed a perennial sunflower in there. But in here, got lots of bell peppers coming on. Do have some tomatoes in here, especially up towards the top. Some Romas right there, or no, those are the Romas. Some beefsteaks. The Anaheim peppers that accidentally wound up in here, went through and picked them the other day. Some yellow monster peppers coming on. So it'll be nice having some peppers. Gonna have to be getting close to closing the tip outs just to keep some of the heat in here. But the perennial sunflower that I planted out here in the whiskey barrel has got some flowers coming on. And this rhubarb bed is just tired. But the perennial sunflowers here in front of David John's shed are looking really pretty. The hollyhocks are still doing good. And that flower pot's just basically done. It's same with the foxgloves. And then you got the grapevine that we think it grew at least another almost 10 feet this year. I don't know if you can see with all the grapes from there. Turkey feather. Let's go in and look at the grapevine from the other side. Let the camera adjust to the light, but look at all of those grapes. So that'll be fun to get cleaned out. But the little baby chicks are out running around with everybody. And then you got a big pile of baby ducks and geese. And Junior on the shed. But these sunflowers and the concept I was going for this spring was to have sunflowers standing upright and being a backdrop to the garden, but with the chickens jumping over the fence and then just the wind and everything, and I think being in a raised bed, they just kind of fell over. So I don't think I'm going to be repeating that process next year. I think, and I've changed my mind on where I'm going to plant the garlic, because, and when it gets to the point of planting the garlic, I'll really go into detail. But this bed here where the sunflowers are, I'm going to plant it with garlic next year. Or that's going to be one of the spots that's going to get garlic. The back side of the garden. Got some more tomatoes to come out and pick. Those ones look really good. The corn looks really bad. It's just going to get pulled out. The little mini roses here. And a couple of the nice things about when we get this whole hoop house and fencing situation done is, like the mini roses, I can take this fence down because in theory the chickens won't have access to here, so I'll be able to maintain the roses hopefully a little better. End of the season. Well, guys, it's a little later in the day, and after a literally nail-biting football game, and as my family knows, I am not good at just sitting around doing nothing, even if it is watching a TV show. Gotta be doing something. Gonna kind of show you what I was doing while we were having that nail-biter football game. So as you see, that corner is pretty much cleared out. All that's kind of left are the summer flowers that are going to pass away in the frost, and the palms and the pineapple and the Mexican fan palm are gone. But as you see, I've gotten both sides of those strips of lathing painted. And I will be needing to paint more because they're going to be going on the hoop houses for the birds. But let's go inside and I'll show you what my inside jungle looks like after I turn the TV off. Because the NFL, for some reason, doesn't want people broadcasting their stuff without a license. So, very careful not to do that. But, my inside garden, I've got the smaller Christmas cactuses, my lime tree that I did cut back. It was really top heavy. So, just letting more light in. The pineapple is behind the angel wing begonia. We've got the Mexican fan palm, a regular palm, my big Christmas cactus, and all the way in the back, if you can see them, are my, whoa, it keeps going in and out of focus. My little cactuses. Probably should have taken the air conditioner out, so a little bad on my side, but I'll deal with that once David John's home and I have his help. But I know I'm in the dark. But over here on my pig homage table, I've got a little jade plant that my dad gave me. We'll be up potting it and having it here, and show you something else I did because I just can't sit still. So I made some pickles, real pickles from cucumbers. The gentleman I was telling you about earlier, Leon, he, like I said, he has a real farm stand, and so I bought cucumbers from him, and my original intent going there was to buy corn. So I've got 36 plus ears of corn right there. As I'm noticing moisture on that bag, gonna have to pull them out and then figure out what I'm gonna do with corn. It was an impromptu purchase. Quite literally, I was at the North 40 and he came up and I bought a full rack of canning jar lids, which is 24 boxes, And that's what piqued his interest. So this is where I'm going to end today's video. I've got some more lathing to get painted for the hoop houses. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button and thumbs up. And we'll see you on the next adventure. Bye for now.